Okay, welcome into episode 22 of Two Man Game. I am your host, David, with my good friend and co-host Dom. We are back again, news to talk about. Dom, how are you doing on this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for this 3-day weekend. I don't know. Do you have a 3-day weekend as well?
I do have a 3-day weekend. Yes, I'm off Monday as well. I got off today at 1:30. I
Amazing.
mean, it's a good weekend.
That's good. I'm very excited for you and happy for both of us. Yeah, I'm just excited for the 3-day weekend. I have a lot of plans. I have a gig tomorrow, so I'm very
Oh
excited
yeah,
for that. Getting ready for that. So if you're in
all of our
LA,
LA listeners.
all LA listeners, at least sign up Viper Room 9 p.m. Be there. If you love basketball, you'll love this show.
If
I
you like
only
the
talk
intro song, just wait.
in between songs. I only talk about basketball, so it's gonna be perfect.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just like, did anyone watch that game last night? That was crazy. But yeah, you got any plans this weekend?
Yeah, so actually after work today, seven, well, including myself, so six others and I from my workplace got together and played some basketball. We did some drills. I was kind of like the impromptu coach,
Hmm.
like teaching some of them how, because they don't really play basketball. And then we did some scrimmages because we have a staff student basketball game later in the year. I don't know if I've talked about that on the pod or not.
I don't know if you have
Um,
either, but you definitely told me about it.
yeah, so that's coming up later in the year, so we're really excited about that. And today we had the most people that we've had so far, and it was great. I was just having so much fun. I've been wheezing since. I think I'm dying. My asthma is killing me. So,
Didn't you
but
play yesterday too? So you played yesterday and
no,
today?
no. So I when I texted you yesterday, that was for today. Um,
Oh, I thought you were
yeah,
okay. Gotcha. That sounds fun. I would love to do that. I might go hoop this weekend.
and then I'll have some people over on Sunday to watch the NFL playoffs.
Oh, right. Who are you
So
going for? Lions playing?
the Lions play tomorrow night, or
Okay.
not tomorrow night, Sunday night.
Sunday night.
It's
Who are they
Friday
playing
night,
against?
listener.
Who are they playing
The
against?
Lions play the Rams.
Oh, right. My roommate was telling me about that.
Yeah.
We're actually, it's one of my roommate's birthdays. We're gonna go to a bar and watch the game. And I'm definitely rooting for the
Go
Lions. But
Lions.
yeah, but I'm gonna be neutral watching it because it's LA, so it's gonna be a lot of Rams fans, I'm sure.
Right.
But we're just gonna have fun, and I'm sure the Lions will win. But that's crazy. Matt Stafford,
Matt Stafford
Detroit.
back in Detroit. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And
That's
then
crazy. But
the
yeah,
Packers and Cowboys are playing at 3:30, and there are two people at my work that are big Packers fans, and then a couple people that are also big Cowboys fans. So that should be fun too. I think I'll
I
have a
yeah.
representation for both sides over at this.
I really, really hope the Packers win. I really do.
Me
Because I
too.
know the Cowboys should win, but it would just make it so much better if they lose. So-
The Lions, assuming the Lions win, they have to play the winner of that game. So
oh my God, rematch. That would be fun.
mhm.
But you know what? You know what I just realized? This isn't a football pod.
It's
It's a
not.
basketball
I think you said
pod.
that last time too.
Did I really?
Something like that. Yeah.
No, no, don't. So one of our listeners, don't go back and check it out. Please, please, please. Yeah, well, I'm sure you saw everyone if you're watching that I'm wearing Damon got me this sweatshirt, this Kobe sweatshirt last year. It's like Kobe spelled out with like a hoop and like a ball and a person. It's really
It's
sick.
really hard to describe. I would say to just tune into the YouTube video for a little bit and take a gander at it. If you
Yeah,
have not seen it, it's a one of my favorite gifts. I think I've gotten you for sure.
it is one
Excuse
of
me.
the my favorites for sure. I actually like every single gift you given me. So,
Yay! Speaking of
yeah.
gifts, I am wearing the almighty De'Aaron Fox purple Sacramento Kings jersey that did come in between last pod and this pod that Autumn got me. And as you may notice, if you are watching, I did a little redecorating on the wall behind me. So it is now the couch is moved and there's now a bunch of jerseys and then the new Rockets jacket I got over there as well. All three jerseys on the bottom row are all Russell Westbrook Rockets jerseys, and I spaced them out to where it says Houston H-Town Rockets. And I was like, yeah, that reads, I guess. And then my shirt I caught at the Rockets game. Rockets jacket, Jalen Green jersey, and then this box jersey will go in the empty space there. So
I also love it's like 000. It's just like across
mhm.
the board. But no, it looks sick. I don't have anything basketball related in my room on the walls.
You have the Australian flag. I mean,
But
that's
yeah,
pretty
and
cool.
they have an Australian national team.
They're,
So
yeah,
Patty Mills,
yeah.
and Desmond Bain. What can I say? But yeah, so I love that jersey. It looks great. Looks
Thank
really good
you.
jersey.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I guess we can just get right into it. There's just a couple of like news things we could talk about real
Mhm.
quick. I know you
Mhm.
told me about this that I don't have you watched The Quarterback on Netflix?
Nope, I don't care about football that much.
Okay. You know what's so funny? Maria, shout out my girlfriend Maria. She's actually been watching it and she likes it a lot. But apparently, NBA is going to do something like that with five NBA players, and the players are going to be LeBron, which makes sense. Jason Tatum, which is pretty cool. Jimmy Butler, Anthony Edwards, and then DeMontis Sabonis, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I think in terms of five guys to follow in the league, they could have done much better. LeBron has that's the legacy guy. Like, of course you're going to follow him. Tatum, yeah, he's been rock solid top 10 player for a couple of years. Jimmy has, I think, a big personality, playoff performer. That's good. Ant is also big personality, kind of funny in his interviews and stuff, kind of up and coming star. And I love the Sabonis inclusion because that is someone I think like a show like this would never choose.
Oh, absolutely. And
Foreign guy, like no one really knows a lot about him. But I think that's like the whole reason it's good because it's like,
yeah.
oh, we get a little insight. I'm a little, I know I'm a little worried that it's through Netflix because
Oh, yeah.
Netflix produces some bad products. So hopefully this is not one of them. But
I couldn't agree more with you. I think the Sabonis one's cool too because his dad played in the NBA. So
right,
I think he's the only one out of those players that had like, a family member play. So
yeah,
I bet they'll talk about that, which is also pretty cool. Um, and this next thing you wrote, I didn't even know this was happening, that they're going to be
yeah,
doing
they
this.
are. They're making the NBA draft 2 days the upcoming year, one for each round. I think this is good because you have the stories like the big one is Jokic, right? He was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. Like people talk about that all the time because he was a second round pick. And it just feels like the draft just drags on and on and on and on. And after a certain amount of picks, I think people kind of tune out. So if you have it be a separate day, 'cause I doubt most people even make it to the second round. Then it creates a little more investment, I think. Um, so yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
that's cool. I've definitely never watched a draft past like the 10th or 11th pick. There's no way I've ever watched past that. I only know like the first like five people, I would say. Um, yeah.
I wanted to throw this out real quick before we get back down into the actual basketball, but it was
What?
also announced today that the NBA is looking at making the 2026 All-Star Game in the Clippers' new stadium in Inglewood. Um,
Oh, Intuit Arena? They're gonna do
yeah,
it there?
yeah. So
Okay.
this year, of course, is in Indianapolis. Next year is in Golden State, the Warriors Arena and Chase Center, I think is
San
what it's called.
Francisco. Yeah, San
Yeah.
Francisco.
And then yeah, they're finalizing a deal for it to be in LA. So, we went from like Cleveland to Utah to Indianapolis, and then we're gonna have like a couple of the big West Coast cities, which will be a nice change, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I like that they did the small marketplaces. I like that they did in Utah, like, Salt Lake City, something that you wouldn't have expected in Indianapolis is cool. It's also cool because they're actually good this year, you wouldn't have thought. And yeah, I guess it'll be easier for people like, San Francisco, a lot of people live there. LA, it's gonna be easy. Maybe I'll even go. I don't know. We'll
That
see.
would be very cool.
Maybe it'd be cool to go watch like maybe not the All-Star game, but like the events. I feel like that'd be really cool to watch, like the
Like the
dunk
skills
contest.
challenge and
Sure. I like just to go and just hang out. Sounds kind of like a summer league thing.
2026, that's 2 years. Maybe we can have media badges by then. We'll see.
That would you hear that NBA? We're up and
You
coming.
hear
We're up
that,
and
Adam Silver?
coming.
I know you're listening.
Yeah, I also plan to go they're going to use the Clippers arena. It's going to be ready by next season, and
Hmm.
I will go to a game next year for sure. I
Yeah.
want to see it.
How much do you
Um,
think that will change the ticket prices? Do you think they'll no longer be like cheap Clippers tickets?
It'll be a bit more for sure. I don't think it'll be as much as Lakers tickets still. Like I feel like right now I could go to a Clippers game. Like I could have went to Suns Clippers for $19, which is pretty sick.
Even though
And
they're the
then
4 seed in the West, which is crazy.
yeah, and then Lakers Suns like last night was like $110, which is like seriously they got blown out. Like but
That's
I
the
feel like
LeBron fee.
yeah, I feel like it'll be like 50, 60, and it'd be worth to go to a game or two. Maybe it'll be
And I'm
even
sure the
cheaper.
arena will be super nice.
Yeah, that's what I really want to see. Apparently, this is what I'm excited about is that they're after
The
behind each
bathrooms.
behind each
Yes.
section there's going to be a
Yeah.
bathroom. So you
Yeah.
don't have to like run around half the stadium just to go to the bathroom.
Steve Ballmer's genius.
Genius. I'm just gonna keep screaming this whole. Oh, yeah, I need to mess with my microphone levels. Turn it up, so I'm just clipping the whole time, screaming.
Ah, you're good.
But yeah, it's talking about LA. I'll just do a little Lakers update.
Tell me about the Los Angeles Lakers.
You
How
know,
are they doing?
they were in the news. I mean, Lakers are always in the news, but especially in the news recently because of a controversial win that they had.
Mm.
So they're currently 19-20. They lost yesterday to the Suns, like I mentioned, and it was a blowout. They just couldn't miss. I listened to the game on the radio because I was going to a show, and the announcers were like, "Devin Booker hit it. All right, Suns got a rebound. Devin Booker hit the shot. All right." And then they made another shot. It was just like Devin Booker this, Devin Booker made that. He just couldn't miss. And Lakers were, I think it wasn't a back to back, but I think they were putting a lot of effort in like the last win against the Raptors, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit. And once they saw that the Suns, I mean, I think LeBron finished with 10 points. I think he checked out kind of early. He's like, I'm not going to try and push this.
He's like,
It's
ah, we
also,
lost.
yeah, it's also the first time the Lakers played the Suns with their big three. Every other time they were missing one or both, and they won all those 3 games. But this time, they lost. But yeah, so the Raptors game was controversial. I actually had a friend there. One of my coworkers was at the game,
Oh
which I
wow.
was yeah, I was super jealous about that because I knew it was going to be a good game. So basically, what happened is Lakers won by 1 point at the end, and the fourth quarter was a bit crazy. And what really called attention to this was the head coach of the Raptors, Darko Rahakovic, during his press conference afterwards, went on like a 2-minute rant about how, the Lakers were getting all these foul calls. It's bull crap. I think my favorite line is, if they needed to win, they should have just told us so we wouldn't have shown up.
That was
Um,
my favorite line. I
yeah,
watched the press conference as well, and he was like, "Yeah, if like the NBA just want the Lakers to win, my guys, I'll just leave my home. I don't need to
yeah,
bring up." I was
we
like,
could have just
"Oh, he is angry."
I will say like so the NBA did fine him. I didn't add it in
Yeah,
the notes, but he was fined
yeah,
$25,000. And
yeah.
I understand that it's a business and you can't badmouth your company, your bosses, whatnot, things like that. I think he had a bit of a point, but I don't think this was the right way, of course, to like go about it. It could have been a statement
Right.
afterwards released, like a press, statement that would have been a bit more um cordial than this is bullcrap.
If that's my coach, though, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, no,
I'm getting right behind that.
I totally agree. So, I made a couple notes that so the Raptors in the fourth quarter shot 2 free throws and the Lakers shot 23. Which when you look at it, it is insane. AD shot 11 for 11 free throws
Mm,
in the fourth quarter. What's important to note is that Pirtle wasn't playing, so they didn't really have a good defensive center to really stop Anthony Davis. And when I
yeah,
was watching this fourth quarter, there these were foul calls, but I will say that the Raptors didn't get some foul calls. Like I think there should have been like maybe 2 more foul calls for them, which could have
mm,
changed the game since it was a 1 point game.
right.
Um, because to me it's all about consistency. There are some fouls I didn't think were fouls, in my eyes, because I feel like there has to be a lot of contact. But watching these refs, they were like any little contact was a foul. So I was like
Mm,
watching it. I don't know if I said I rewatched the fourth quarter just to see what if the coach had, what he said was warranted. And I think it was a little bit, but it didn't seem like it was a particular bias toward a team. Maybe like, just not consistency in calling a certain foul. Like there's like you lean in, push off, go up and shoot a shot. And like they wait until it hits the rim to call a whistle. I don't
Oh,
know if you've,
I hate
yeah,
those. I
it
hate it's
was.
like let the whole play happen and then he didn't make the shot. Okay, now we call the foul. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, it
Call a
was
foul when it happens.
yeah, it was a fewer like that, which was I would understand pretty frustrating. And I do have to say that the game was very competitive, it was very close most of the whole
Mm,
time, and it was really fun. I watched RJ Barrett and D'Lo going at it. There's a lot of competitiveness there. They were kind of like, um, RJ would make a bucket and then, mouth off at D'Lo. Then he would go and like get an alley up to AD and be like, yeah, what about that? That was pretty cool to watch. And
That's such a
love that.
random little like
It is,
rivalry.
right? Yeah. Especially for like RJ just got on the Raptors. He's like, all right, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
pick my
mean
guy.
that. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit off the pod, but that trade is looking really good for both teams right now.
Yeah, yeah. Knicks actually just lost yesterday to the Mavericks. They almost had a comeback win. They were down by like 20 in the fourth quarter with
Hmm.
7 minutes left, and they came back to within one. But then Kyrie got a dagger three, and then it was all over. So, but yeah, Knicks are looking great. Raptors are looking really good, and both fun to watch. And but that's, I mean, did you watch the Lakers Raptors stuff? What's your opinion? I'm trying not to be biased. Because
I know you kind of went a little more in depth just because you said you kind of wanted to take that on. Um, I think I didn't watch the game live or anything. I kind of read about it and heard about it, of course, just like you did. I know the disparity. I want to say, yeah, you mentioned it earlier. The 23-2 free throw disparity is kind of crazy, and I know the Raptors mentioned Jakob he'll be sidelined in a couple weeks actually. Um, which was in the news we're going to talk about later. But yeah, they had like no viable big men to play. So, if it was a lot of like AD getting hacked because nobody can play defense on them, I mean, that makes sense. Like those are fouls, but I didn't go back and watch it, play for play. But a 21 free throw disparity in a close game to have the one team that had 21 more free throws win by 1 point. I definitely can see the frustration there, and I would be frustrated if I was the opposing team as well.
yeah, I totally agree. And this isn't the first time actually this has been brought up against the Lakers. I remember last year
They're like
during
number
the
one in free throws.
yeah, but that's part of their, I mean, the Lakers through three quarters are always down, and then by the fourth quarter they're like, we just need to get points. So then Austin Reeves is really good at getting free throws. LeBron, AD, like they have people on their team that like they just practice drawing fouls, which I don't love. Like that's not the kind of basketball I love to watch. It's a strategy, but it's not what I love to watch. And like I said last year, when they were playing against the Warriors, there was a few games where there was a big disparity between free throws, and everyone was complaining. But the Warriors just play such a fast offense that the Lakers didn't foul. It was like that was the strategy, like for the Lakers, was to get foul called, and they got him. And they played small ball, so they were able, you know what I mean? Like, um,
I know
it's
it's a
not,
big part of Austin Reeves' game.
yeah,
And of course, LeBron is one of the all-time drivers. AD has had a lot of kind of back to the basket, face up in the posts, which leads to fouls. So yeah, like you said,
yeah.
it is a part of their game, but
Yeah, it doesn't make for the best basketball viewing, and I understand that. But I think in this case is a little bit less inexcusable than like the Warriors, whatever that was. But I hope it's fixed. Like I really like just want, like we always say all the time, just consistency. If you're gonna call every little hit a foul, then call it for both teams. Like that's all I want, you know? Um,
if you're gonna officiate badly on both sides.
Exactly. And I mean, I could even talk about the Celtics Timberwolves game I was texting you about a few days ago that went to
Mm-hmm.
OT. But we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah,
Because
we almost did biggest disappointments this episode, and I only came up with one before I decided that we had too much other stuff to talk about. Anyways, um,
yeah.
officiating always up high on that list for me.
Yeah, but how are the Rockets doing? I think they just won a game today.
They did. They just won a game right before we got on, so I don't have a lot of in-depth analysis on that particular game. But we barely beat the Pistons by 2, so
Hey, a
that's
win's a win, baby. A win's a win.
that's a close call. Glad we got the win, of course. Now 19-18, the ninth seed in the West, just above the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, I guess they played 2 more games, 2 more losses. So um,
Yeah.
we have a couple injuries we're dealing with. Dylan Brooks has been out since the December 26th, the day after Christmas, with an oblique injury. It's considered week to week. He is traveling with the Rockets. They're a like whole Eastern Conference road trip right now. He's with the team. So it's a good sign, but we don't know really when he's going to come back. The Tari Eason has been back or has been out, sorry, for the last weeks with lower leg soreness. In the preseason, he had a stress reaction in his leg, and he's kind of just been in and out all year dealing with like pain management essentially. So he has been kind of inconsistent. And both of those guys, of course, are like our best defenders, so that affects us a lot. Luckily, in their absence, we've had a lot of Ahmed Thompson, a lot of Cam Whitmore, which I've been, preaching for all season on this podcast, and I want to see those guys because we don't have our pick. It is top five protected, I believe, to the Nets, and obviously we're not going to be one of those, top five worst teams. The Pistons, Spurs, Wizards, Hornets, uh, Blazers. Those I think that's like already locked basically because none of those teams are doing anything. Um, so I'm glad those guys are getting a chance to go out there and develop because it's not like we're going to win a title either. So just play the guys that are for the future.
Yeah. How are they defensively? Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore.
They're fine. I don't think they're like superstar defenders. I think both of them in Cam in college and then Abed in overtime elite. I think both were like relatively respected defenders, but there's always an adjustment when you go to the NBA and you're playing against like grown adult men who are like have been in the league for 10 plus years and like, really are really physical and stuff. So Cam is actually, we saw him in person at the Through the Wire podcast as well as in summer league. He's kind of big for he's only 19 still. He hasn't turned 20 yet. So he's kind of big for his age, and Abed is tall, but he's very skinny. So he's probably, he's getting bullied a little bit. But he has good footwork, keeping up with guards on the perimeter and stuff. So yeah.
That's cool. I just haven't seen him play, unfortunately, in the league yet. But I'll try to catch some games now.
Yeah, and I didn't realize Cam was in the G League for a while. He played 13 games in the G League. I was like,
really? Okay,
earlier, I was like, why isn't he playing? I was like, oh, it wasn't even on the active roster. Silly me. But I guess I wasn't really, when I was watching, I wasn't looking at the bench, like, where is he at? Trying to like find him. But here are some stats excluding this Pistons game that just happened. Obviously, it just happened before the pod. This season, rookie season, Cam is shooting 54% from the field, 42% from three. So those are really good numbers for a rookie.
Maybe 50, 40, 90?
Guys.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't include his free throw numbers because it's not 90. I'll tell you that. It's like 67.
God.
It's not very
good.
My
God. I was like 70. You're like 60. I'm like, oh my gosh.
50, 40, 70.
Yeah, that's a club
Let's
too.
Go. Yeah, I had a little game by game breakdown. We got absolutely massacred by the Wolves. The Wolves a week ago on January 5th. I want to read some stat lines to you, the listeners, because I think they're interesting. Jayshawn Tate played 21 minutes in this game, 0 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Jeff Green played 21 minutes in this game, 4 points, 1 rebound, 0 assist. Jock Landale played 5 minutes in this game, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists.
How do you not get a rebound as
a center? Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, and none of these guys are, great defenders. I think Jayshawn Tate kind of has a reputation because he's kind of bigger, like he's kind of bulky. But he's like a 6'4" power forward, so he's not quite tall enough to guard guys down at the post. He does do a pretty good job of keeping on the perimeter players. With Brooks and Tari out, he's probably like our best perimeter defender right now. So
yeah, I was gonna mention Jayshawn Tate. Like whenever I've seen him play, like plays pretty good defense. I guess in the passing lanes, but he does have that like that shortness about him. I was gonna say his length, like is not. I couldn't think of the word. I was gonna say his length deficiency. It's like it's not length deficiency because it's not a deficiency to be short. 6'4" is not even that short.
Yeah, I just wanted to read those stat lines because it's like we just got guys out there running around. Like they're just not doing anything. And the Wolves had 6 guys score double digits. We did the day after on a back-to-back. We beat the Bucks at home by 4 points, despite Giannis having 48 points and 17 rebounds. I have no idea how he won that game. We had 7 players score double digits, so an all-around team effort from us.
They made up for it from the game before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from getting absolutely demolished by the Wolves to beating the Bucks, that was nice. And then a couple days later, on the 8th, we played against the Heat. 7-point loss there, unfortunately. Jeff Green line, 20 minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 0 assists. It's like, what is going on? What are you
Uncle
doing?
Jeff, baby.
And then the most recent game, yes, or 2 days ago, when they played the Bulls, we actually lost in OT. I was watching like the second half of that game while it was going.
Yeah.
Kobe White had 30. He was really good.
Wow.
He's been really good for the Bulls since he was inserted in the starting lineup.
Most improved player.
Could be, could be.
Okay.
He's having a very good season. I still hope the Bulls, sell it all. Levine,
Yeah.
DeRozan, all those guys. We'll see. But Levine is back and playing too. But Kobe White still starting over like Javon Carter or Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, whoever they may have been starting at point guard. They're starting Kobe
Yeah.
White instead.
Yeah, I see that.
Uh, I will note in this game, Jabari played 47 minutes, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
So I don't know if he has the trust of eBay, but he had 18 points, 15 rebounds. So that's pretty good for a power forward who is relatively skinny, with his frame. So 15 rebounds is no joke. And then I also wanted to mention Jay Sean's Tate line in this game. 18 minutes, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 0 assists.
My man.
And Cam Whitmore played 33 minutes, which was nice to see. He got a lot
That's
of run in a game that was overtime, so it was close throughout.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that. And the last thing I'll just mention about the Rockets, and we'll talk about it later a little bit. Şengün is looking like the one, looking like the future, looking like the centerpiece of this
Yeah.
franchise for years
I
to
do
come.
love that.
So, very happy with that pick. Glad it's working out. And all in all, I'm happy so far with the Rockets season. I didn't think it would go this well. I think I said they would be like 13th seed or something like that. Right now we're the 9th seed. Can't argue with those results.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then we were talking a little bit earlier. If it ends up Rockets 9th, Lakers 10th or something playing, we gotta go to the game. We have
that would
to.
be awesome.
That would be crazy. We'll have to find a way. But
Credit
some
cards, baby.
credit card. Why else would I have it? Because I like it? Because I want it? No. Some crazy news though.
Let's get into some news. Lots of news.
Let's get in a lot of injury and stuff, which is unfortunate. But we're gonna focus on the Grizzlies real quick.
Yeah, we got three.
So who's the best player on the Grizzlies? John Morant,
that's
right?
Demetrius JaVale Morant.
Demetrius Epps. Yeah. Yeah, he's out for the season. He's gonna have surgery. He had a labrum tear in his right shoulder. Sounds pretty painful.
Yeah, apparently he was experiencing some soreness, so they had an MRI, and it was like, oh, actually, your labrum's torn, so
he's
done.
like, maybe I should stop playing this season.
He only played 9 games, so
yeah, and they were pretty good. I mean, I feel like they were like 7-2 or so. They didn't have a winning record. I feel like during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're just gonna nosedive because who else is also out? Marcus Smart. Yeah. Yeah, about 6 weeks. He's gonna be out for about 6 weeks.
That's a long time. At least they still have Desmond Bane though.
Yeah, well, the thing about Desmond Bane is that he was on the court and he was in pain, and we got an update right before the podcast. You want to enlighten me?
Did we? I didn't look. I didn't see it. What's the update?
I thought they're okay. Well, he looks like he's in pain. He might be out for a bit.
Oh, yeah. I just put TBD on there because I watched it happen right before the podcast. Let's see if I could scoop up any news. I can't.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate.
It's like a foot injury, like an ankle. He sprained his ankle and then or something, and then kind of limped off to the locker room. So I'm sure more will be released later tonight or tomorrow. But that is
what the good news is they signed Isaiah Thomas. So
woo!
Short King.
Yeah, they applied for a $12 million player exception since they lost John Morant for the season, so they could sign another player. But I want to point out, in the preseason when we did our conference standing predictions, I said this could be like the season with the Warriors where Steph broke his hand after like 5 games, and they just tanked that season. They ended up with the number 2 overall pick and drafted James Wiseman, which was a disaster, but it was like a break season for them essentially. And I said, yeah, I can see that happening for the Grizzlies. And I was listening to like 3 podcasts after this John Morant injury, and all of them said that. They said this reminds me of that Warriors season. And I was like, you stole my idea. Give me
It's
credit
also
where
like
credit's due.
you deserve the credit because credit is due to you, but also it's like times more than that because there's also Marcus Smart and now possibly Desmond
Oh
Bain,
yeah,
and
it's
it's
like
just like
they got
it's
Jared Jackson Jr. and
and
Luke Kennard.
Isaiah Thomas and Luke Kennard, and that's it. But yeah, more injury stuff, right?
More
Apparently.
injury stuff, yeah. Really sad here, but Tyrese Halliburton, the golden star of this podcast, it seems he slipped on the court during the game and strained his hamstring, his left hamstring. He says he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So no exact timeline on when he'll come back. It's just at least 2 weeks, and they'll look at 2 weeks and then they'll determine like, okay, we need another 2 weeks or another 3 weeks or however long. Which is really unfortunate. Because the All Star game is probably about a month away now, I think, and it's in Indianapolis, so you want him to be able to represent his team in the city they play in. So hopefully it's not that long of an injury.
Yeah, hopefully not. And I mean, so in 2 weeks, how many games is that? Like 6 games? I'm just wondering. There's a certain number of games they have to play to become an all-star, right? Not an all-star, but to get like be considered for an award, like
An
most of the
award,
teams.
yeah, it's 65 games for
Yeah, so
the all NBA teams and all of that.
yeah, so whatever this is, hopefully it doesn't get in the way of that because I think he definitely has a case for, all NBA team, at least.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah,
And hopefully the Pacers have been playing pretty good this year. They've been really fun to
yeah,
watch. So hopefully they can sustain, because last year when Halliburton was injured, they kind
that
of
could
tanked
not.
really badly. So hopefully they can just stay afloat until he comes back.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't looked at their schedule, but hopefully, yeah, it's not too crazy. And also in the same vein as Eastern Conference point guards, Cade Cunningham, got an injury to his left knee. Thankfully, they don't think it's serious, but they're also going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks.
No,
Um, inter-
just in a week, 1 week.
oh, in
Um,
1 week, so that's even better.
and the Rockets almost lost him, so that's scary. But 3-36, the Pistons are. There are probably, I would say, 6 to 8 teams that will not finish the season with as many losses as the Pistons have right now.
Which is insane to think about. I mean, me and Damon were talking also before. Like, I think they can go on an 0-28 run again. They can have two 0-28 runs in the season. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, they are impressive in all the worst ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see if they can keep competing in games without Cade Cunningham because then they played the Kings and they scored like 47 in the first quarter or
47 in the
something,
first quarter, yeah. Then they
which is
got absolutely
insane.
massacred for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Which I mean is should have been the whole thing for the whole
Right.
time. But um so yeah, and also in the same vein, not a point guard, but also in the East. And we kind of mentioned this earlier. Jacob Pertl is going to be out with an ankle sprain, and
Jakob.
that's what I said. Jacob.
It's Jakob
It's
Pirtle.
Jacob Poeltel.
Come on,
uh,
we play the Pirtle every day around here,
yeah, we do. We do. You remember who it was today?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Dyson
I will tell
Daniels.
you. It was Dyson. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, like they don't. He'll be revived in 2 weeks. Hopefully, he'll come back soon.
They need a center.
They need a big. They need a big.
They
That's
need
for
a center. That's
sure.
what the Lakers game
Um,
showed us.
yeah, absolutely.
In other news, center news as well. The Knicks earlier this season applied for a $7 million disabled player exception, just like the Grizzlies just did, because they thought Mitchell Robinson was be out for the year. So they're trying to use that money to sign another player, and they declined it because they think he actually has a chance to come back. So hopefully he does come back. He was playing really good for them. I will say Isaiah Hardenstein has been awesome in his absence. And of course, they got Precious Achua from the Raptors trade as well. So they do have some big mid depth. They released Taj Gibson. They waived him.
I did see that. Yeah.
Sad day for 47-year-old Taj Gibson.
Oh, the go.
But yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a bit strange to me because I thought that they were talking about how he's going to be out for sure for the whole season. I think it's like bittersweet, right? So hopefully he does come back. That's obviously what you want
Yeah,
instead of
it'd be
signing.
crazy if they declined it and then he didn't come back.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good sign that odds are he will come
Hmm.
back. And yeah, hopefully that happens soon. And then can you talk about this next one? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, so LaMelo returned tonight, and
Okay.
that's good, of course. The Hornets got
Yeah.
absolutely shellacked. They lost by like 35 to the Spurs. So that's bad. Obviously, that's really bad. Um, but there was a story before LaMelo got injured. He has the initials LF tattooed below his ear on his neck.
Okay.
And it's his middle name, La France, naturally. And it's also a clothing brand that he has. Like he started a clothing brand with his middle name, La France.
Yeah.
So the NBA fined him because it's like a brand that they're not partnered with, and you can't like advertise that, I guess. And he's like, it's just my middle name though. So they fined him before, but when he played tonight, they were like, "We're not going to fine you for not covering it up." I don't know if they're going to fine him in the future if this was just like a one-time thing where they're like, "It's okay." Um, but that was the story when he originally went out. Was like they were like had just fined him because of that tattoo. So we'll see.
That is actually insane because a lot of NBA players like the first one I think of is Carmelo Anthony. Funny, they're both Mellows. He has a Warner Brothers tattoo, like
Right.
literally the Warner Brothers logo, and I don't think he got fined for that. So that's just crazy. I don't think he should be fined at all. That is his
No,
middle name.
that's silly business. Come on
Yeah,
now,
if
it's a
someone wants
great.
to get like the Monster Energy logo, they should never do that. But if they do,
Don't ever do that,
don't ever
please.
do that. But if you do, don't get a two-man game with Damon and Dom tattooed. Just
Get
don't.
our logo tattooed. That'd be kind of cool.
We gotta come up with a really cool logo people want to tattoo. That's
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 true.
that's the thing.
The
It's
logo
not
and the
about
back.
the content, it's about the logo.
Not the logo. Any logo
Um,
designers out there, let me know.
yeah.
I just made it in Canva, so
Yeah. Yeah, we do what we can around here. But and also it kind of other news is that the
coach time.
Eric Spoelstra, could say probably one of the best coaches in NBA
One of,
history.
one of the 15 best is voted. I don't remember
Yeah,
what that vote was. Do you remember that? Like 2 years ago, they had like a list come out of like the best coaches ever, and he was on the top 15. But as number one coach of the year.
that is insane. Yeah, I couldn't I can't believe that. Even last year, I guess Mike Brown deserved it because the Kings weren't in it for forever, but
Mhm.
but yeah, well, anyway, so he is just signed an 8 year contract, $120 million, and now this is the largest coach contract
Take
ever.
that, Monty Williams. You
Yeah,
three and
take that. You're
36
three and
Pistons.
36 Pistons. Yeah. And also, I don't know if you saw this either, but the Miami Heat, they waited, and so Eric Spoelstra is he's going through a divorce.
Oh wow,
So yeah, they waited
I didn't
until
know
he cut tie, like he's done with his divorce, to sign
that.
him to this
Listen, that's
contract.
all your money.
Yeah,
Mike
which
Riley
is
loves that guy.
it's pretty funny
I mean,
thinking
definitely one of
about
the
it.
continual success of like there's not a lot of coaches like that in the NBA. There is
Yeah. And they
Greg
take care of their
Popovich
own.
and there's
That's
Eric
cool.
Spoelstra. That's like the only two I can think of that's like they've
Yeah,
been with their current team for 10 plus years.
literally the whole time. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny when I heard about that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me somebody else that was extended.
I'm glad you asked. LA native, and our favorite player of all time, Kawhi Leonard,
What?
has been extended by the Clippers, 3 years, $153 million after this season. So, as a Clipper fan, I would breathe a sigh of relief because Paul George and Kawhi, I think they're both up for an extension and they did not sign one
Yep.
in the offseason. So, I guess they were figuring out their options and, you
I
know,
I want to hear your thoughts because 3 years, 153 billion. I believe it's going to be like 53 billion this after this season, and then like 50 billion the next 2 seasons.
yeah,
Um, is the plan for the contract? I believe when I was looking into this, I believe the maximum offer was 4 years and like 223 billion. So they shaved a year and they shaved 80 million in terms of Back's contract. Still 50 million for the next 3 seasons after this. Do you think
Hmm.
who do you think, like, is there a winner here? Is Kawhi a winner? Are the Clippers the winner? What do you think? Who do you think got like the best deal out of this?
I'd say the Clippers probably got the best deal out of this. I think they might have some like, injury concerns moving forward, just because of his history with the Clippers so far. Maybe they're a little worried about signing him to 4 years. I think 3 years, 153 million is nothing to shrug about. That's a lot of money. And
Fully guaranteed, by the way. There's no like games played incentive or anything like that.
yeah, so and even with that, I would still say it's good on both sides. Maybe like, Kawhi maybe feels like he can do this for the Clipper instead of trying to really get that max that he could have. Maybe he likes playing in LA, being in LA, signing with the Clippers makes sense. What do you think though?
Yeah, so when I first heard this, I was like, ah, that's a lot of money. And I thought, I know the CBA is going to be raised not that long from now, so teams will have a larger salary cap. Um, I thought fully guaranteed was interesting because, Kawhi Leonard has had a lot of injury, bad luck in his career, especially with the Clippers. This is like the most he's ever played for this team. Um, and I thought it was interesting. I do think what happened essentially is they now avoid Kawhi just walking out the door in the offseason. So I think it is a win for the Clippers in that regard. And it's also a win to kind of show like, hey, the Harden trade worked and we're buying in and we think like, we can do this with this core, even if it's not this year. Although right now they're looking really, really good after their slow start to the season. They think this could work. I know Paul George was asked about this, and he was like, "I'm really happy for Kawhi, happy for the Clippers. I hope I could be a Clipper too. We're in talks. We're getting there." That's basically like what he said. So no like super commit from him. And then Harden with the way his contract kind of worked, he actually can't be extended by the Clippers. That has to be like an off-season deal. So
Oh yeah. So is it only for I don't know what Harden's like what his deal is right now. Is it
he accepted a $33 million player option on the Sixers, and
okay.
then they didn't extend him. So that's what he wanted. So he accepted the option because I guess the talks were like, oh, I'll accept the option, then you'll like extend my contract, and they didn't extend it.
Yeah.
And then
That I
that's why they
didn't
just traded him.
I didn't think about how big of a gamble that was for the Clippers. Literally, Paul George, Kawhi, and Harden are all like
All free
expiring
agents.
contract. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally at the end of this year.
So
That's
it could have been a
imagine them
disaster,
all
and then they could have
walking.
all walked.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, God.
the whole reason they got Kawhi there is because they traded Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, like a top 5 player in the NBA right now. Obviously, they didn't know that at the time. Um,
Right.
and all of the picks and swaps for Paul
Yeah,
George in order for Kawhi to sign to the Clippers. So
that's crazy. I wonder if there's enough money in the cap to be able to extend them all, like max extend, and also be able to keep, a pretty good depth. That'd be
right,
interesting to look at some point. But
Steve Ballmer is made of money. So
yeah, and they got a new arena too. So also another stat, you were talking about a lot about stats earlier, but
stats,
I
stats,
thought this
stats.
one was really interesting.
I've been
Um,
calculating.
yeah, so well, you tell me about it then, since you did the work. I want you to talk about it.
Well, originally you sent me a screenshot that said Jokic has missed 4 shots in the last 5 games, and I said
Mm-hmm.
that can't be true. So I went back and looked, and I was like, oh, that is true. And I said I'm going to keep up with this. I'm gonna like see how it goes. And the last game they played was 2 days ago. Unless they played today, I didn't look today. Um,
I think they're playing right now, actually.
ah, but
Um,
over
yeah,
the last 6 games from December 28th to January 10th, that span. Jokic shot 62 for 75 from the field, which is 83%. And one of those
insane.
shots he missed or one of those games he missed like 6 shots. The other games he missed like 1 or 2 shots in every game. Shoot like 14 for 15, and stuff like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. I just thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and also he made that trebuchet game winner. Who
Oh
was
my
that
goodness.
against? The
That happened right
Warriors?
after our last podcast. It was
It
against the
happened. I
Warriors.
remember. Yeah, I remember. I got the notification while we were like wrapping up, and then I watched it after we got off the pod.
Yeah,
Crazy. That.
we're
Very
gonna
good.
talk about that later.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, I thought that's pretty crazy. And also another thing that another stat that is pretty cool.
Tell me a
That
stat.
Yeah, so after the Celtics game that the Timberwolves just played, went to OT, they did lose. But Anthony Edwards, after that game, became the sixth player in NBA history to record 5,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists at 22 or younger, which is pretty crazy. So he joins five other players. This is LeBron James,
That guy's pretty good.
Luca, yeah,
That
Luca
guy's good too.
Doncic, Kobe Bryant,
Ooh, that guy's awesome.
T-Mac, Tracy
Oh, one of my
McGrady,
favorites.
and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I think the craziest name on that list is Giannis because I thought Giannis was like a kind of a late bloomer. But I
I was
also
just
feel
about
like he
yeah.
was in the NBA and he was like 12 years old for some reason. So
I was just about to say the same thing because I played 2K17 and
mhm.
Jan and I got drafted to the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo did not do anything on my team.
He's like a
So I was
62
like, who is this
overall.
guy?
Like,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
not good. So that is crazy, but also very cool for Anthony Edwards to
Oh yeah.
join that.
Looking like one of the guys.
Yeah, very cool for them.
And that's
Um,
why you're on Netflix's NBA show.
the show, or I don't even know what
I
they're
don't
gonna
know what it's
call it.
called.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
don't know what it's called.
they call it the quarterback for football, but like this one, they're all positions all over the place. So what are they gonna call it? The player. But speaking of Anthony Edwards, he's playing like an all-star. We actually got second fan voting returns.
Yeah, that was really quick. I did not think we were going to be talking about this on our back-to-back podcast here. But
Yeah,
here we
yeah.
are.
But I sent it to you and you said you looked at it and you had thoughts. So
Yeah,
we could do this a little briefly. I feel like we talked a little bit about, you know, what we wanted, what we thought of it last time. And but what'd you see? What differences did you see this time?
yeah. Let me, if you don't mind, let me look up the first fan votes because I don't remember why I
Yeah.
had thoughts before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Definitely compare them. Well, I'll say one thing just real quick.
sure.
I do want to say, looking at the West, Devin Booker is finally
That was one of
he's
my
there.
thoughts for sure. Because
Yeah,
last
I
podcast I said, "Where's Devin Booker at? What's going on here?"
absolutely. Yeah,
And he's all the way down at 9, so it's like not great, but at least he's on there instead of Austin Reeves, who was on there last time.
which I agree. I mean, Devin Booker should be there above Austin Reeves. Controversial take.
Guys, just so you know, Devin Booker's a better player than Austin Reeves. I don't know if you know this. Yeah, so I'm
um,
looking at this now, and I have the first votes in front of me. I did notice Jokic just narrowly edging out KD for that second front court spot.
okay.
But it does look like those guys will be the top three there, miles ahead of everybody else. So I think that's pretty secure in the front court. Şengün sitting at number 6. It was number 7 last time, so he has moved up. Şengün's getting the respect he deserves. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
not going to be a starter because there's only 3 of those in the West. But with this fan vote, that is going to be high hopes that perhaps the coaching staff and media members will throw him on the bench for the
Yeah,
Western Conference All Star game.
absolutely. And I do want to say, like, he is going to break 1 million, which is not nothing to,
Yeah.
shrug at. Like, that's pretty cool. Very happy for him.
I do think John Morant and Klay Thompson don't make any sense. I still don't get it. I don't know why those guys are there.
I
Klay
mean, even
Thompson,
Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie's hasn't played
Harry's
like
really
a whole.
high. Yeah, like I could see him being like 9 or 10. Being at
Yeah,
5 is a little wild. Being above Anthony Edwards, up
yeah,
Devin Booker, that doesn't make any sense.
yeah. I
Um,
totally agree. But I agree with you as well. John Morant and Klay Thompson being there, and John Morant only because he played what 9 games this
right.
season, right? Klay
And
Thompson because he's we're gonna talk about that later, but he's not good.
yeah, and I said this last time, but Steph being in front of Shea, I wouldn't agree with. Thunder the 2 seed in the West. Shea is a big part of that. Steph is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I think this year, yeah, I think right now Steph's getting the legacy nod rather than
Yeah,
um, he's
yeah.
like the better player.
It would be cool to see Luca and Shea as the fan voted front court or
Mhm.
back court, I guess. Yeah.
But then
But
if you go over to the Eastern Conference, the front court looks like it's been decided. It looks like it's Giannis,
yeah,
Embiid,
I
Tatum.
see.
They are.
Oh my God, they're almost 3 million.
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
oh
They
my
are
gosh.
both. All three of those guys are 2 billion ahead of Jimmy Butler in the fourth place. So it's like not even close. Mikhail Bridges went from 7 to 10. He made a slide there. Julius Randle made an appearance. I talked about that last time. I said
Yeah,
Julius
yeah,
Randle
yeah.
might deserve to be up here. Kyle
Yeah.
Kuzma has fallen off. Sorry, Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, come on,
Um,
the goat. Come on.
and then in the East, this is actually important. Trae Young
Yeah,
is above Damian Lillard right
I
now
don't agree with that. I absolutely
at,
don't agree with
at the
that.
number 2 spot. And that is, that's the starting guard of the Eastern Conference. So that would be huge. Trae Young does have really good numbers this season, but the Hawks are kind of bleh.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
I agree. I definitely think it's a, oh, I know his, like right now it's kind of his time in the sun. Or like not Damian Lillard, like he's still very relevant, of course, but like Trae Young has like that attitude. It's like the same reason why LaMelo Ball is on this list. You know,
you don't like
it's
LaMelo Ball being on this list?
Are you kidding? I hate LaMelo Ball being on this list. But it's also like who else would be on it? But also LaMelo Ball hasn't played that much. That's a bigger
You know
reason
who should
why.
be on this list over LaMelo Ball?
Kobe White.
Terry Rozier. Also Kobe
Yes.
White.
Yeah.
Kobe White's been really good.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, it'd be nice to see, Donovan Mitchell is playing very well. He just dropped 45 in Paris against the Nets.
Got my jersey number.
He dropped his jersey now, which is pretty cool. I mean, I always Tyrese Maxey was a little bit higher, Jalen Brunson, but like for what it is, like Tyrese Halliburton deserves to be first. I think like this is his season. I think.
I know who you
Um,
want to be up in that other Eastern Conference guard spot.
who?
You want the Tyrese backcourt in
Yeah,
the
I
All
want
Star
the
game.
Tyrese Max. That was my vote. I did my I don't forgot if we were I think I said we were gonna guess each other's or we're gonna do it together. But I did a vote and I did do the Tyrese backcourt for sure. I did and then I think I did do this exact top three. I did do Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum.
Yeah, that seems pretty locked in.
Yeah.
With Kevin Durant going over to the West last year, it's like, oh, yep, these are the 3 guys, I guess.
Yeah. But it's we'll see. We'll see what happens with the final. I think I'm mostly curious about the guards, I guess. Front court
The front
seems
court seemed
pretty
to be pretty.
decided.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So yes. So we were gonna
sad
what
we're
was
not
it?
doing the captains anymore. I know you like that. I know you like East West, but like
I
just
love
look.
East
But look at
West.
the list. It's like the West are gonna absolutely obliterate them.
Yeah, exactly. I've been a West boy my whole life.
Yeah, the West have, I feel like has always obliterated the East in our lifetime.
Yeah, even I mean, even I don't know, like I have not watched old All-Star games, but even I think when Michael Jordan played, like I mean, it was an All-Star game, like it wasn't super competitive anyway. So,
Right.
but I don't know who won those games. And I know you hated this, but I also loved when they would wear their home jerseys and their away jerseys. So it was super confusing, but
I
I
mean, that's a
loved
little
that.
interesting. They kind of do that in the Pro Bowl for the NFL. They wear the helmets of their teams,
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. Um, so yeah, maybe it's just like a splash or something that you can tell what team you're on without really mucking it up.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's at least like it's all like maybe similar colors, but I guess it gets kind of weird if like well all the city jerseys are mostly like black or dark gray, so you could do that for one team. But I
but
like that
I
quirkiness.
like the captain and the drafting before. I like the theatrics of it. I thought it was cool.
That was so weird to watch. Like last year was so
Last
like
year was weird doing it in person because before they had
yeah.
done it like on TV.
It's also just weird because like I remember at the very end was it Jokic and Markkanen and then at LeBron's turn and Jokic just walked over before he even like said his name. You remember that?
Yeah, I do because
Yeah,
that's for the starters. Yeah.
it just made it weird. Just made it like awkward, I thought. So I'd rather have it set in stone instead of just like a pickup game,
I
which
mean,
they
I'm
did it
excited to
once.
see who the coaches decide to go with for the benches, though, because
Hmm.
it could be people not on the fan returns. Coaches and media have a little different outlook on the league
Yeah.
than the fans do. Of
Yeah, and
course,
we'll talk about it when we see it. But yeah, so we mentioned earlier that we wanted to talk about, some disappointments in the league this year, just kind of like a little segment. But one was
this is
I
the
think
biggest one.
it was the biggest one. It was the most glaring. So we decided that we wanted to talk about the Golden State Warriors.
Yes, the
Um,
title of this episode is this question I have typed on the doc here. Is this the end of the Golden State Warriors dynasty?
and in short, the answer is yes.
I
But
think so.
yeah,
Ooh.
tell me. Well, tell me why. Give me a little intro.
A little intro. There's a lot here. Yeah, this was the most glaring disappointment to me when I was thinking about it. I went back to the standings predictions. Actually, I had the Lakers as number two, so like that one was also really disappointing. But I had the Warriors as number three, so it was like, oh, okay. These two were both really big and really obvious disappointments for me so far this season. So let me break down some stuff about the Warriors, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
We can go step by step. So right now they're 17-20. They're 12th in the West, only better than the Grizzlies, who we just talked about their injury woes earlier. The Blazers, who I texted you before the pod, they were already losing by 22 points in the first quarter to the Timberwolves. And the Spurs, who are just awful. They have like 7 wins. They just blew out the Hornets. Um, they're below the Jazz. The Warriors are worse than the Jazz this season. I mean, come on, that's crazy. They're worse than the Rockets. They're worse than all the other like relative competent teams in the West as well. Um,
Yeah.
that's nuts. And here's kind of some other stuff too. Um, Draymond went out. These guys actually went 5-1, and I feel like I didn't really care a lot about that. I feel like I would have heard like, oh, Draymond's out and like they're performing well. That's crazy. But they've been 2-6 since then. Their wins have been over the Nets, who have looked pretty rough lately. The Blazers, who I just mentioned twice. The Celtics, that's a good win. It was an overtime. It was a close game. But you can't take credit away for that. That's one of the best teams in the NBA. The Wizards, who are awful. The Magic, who are kind of like whatever. Like the Magic
Yeah,
are
yeah.
kind of
They can, if they have it on, they have it on. If they're not, then
they've been inconsistent this season,
yeah,
but not as bad as these other teams. And the Pistons. So like the 501 run they went on, they like beat some really bad teams.
yeah,
They lost to the Clippers, who have been really good, the Nuggets, who are really good, the Heat, who are okay, the Mavs, who are pretty decent, and the Raptors, who are okay. So like most competent teams, except for the Celtics, they lost to. So it's not like the record is really indicative of like a good team because they're just beating up on the really awful bottom of the league, teams. Um,
yeah. I did notice that there is a lot of lack of Warriors in the media, like talking, except for Draymond. So like except for all that going on, there hasn't been a lot of like Steph Curry's still that guy. I remember
I,
like Chris
I
Paul
went
got injured.
very into this. Did a lot of research.
You want to what?
I said I went into this. I did a lot of research.
No,
I
no,
believe you.
no, I know. I'm just talking about like
I
how
know the general.
that no one's talking about this
Right.
right now, basically. And that's why I think it's cool that we are talking about it.
That's why you tune
Um,
in to Two Man Game with David and Dom every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or
Saturday,
Sunday.
Sunday, depending
One
when
of those
we
days,
want to do it.
there will be a podcast for you.
Absolutely. Okay, well, tell me a little bit of some media guy. Tell me some research.
Okay, here's some research. So, this game we alluded to earlier. In the fourth quarter, the Warriors are up 18 over the Nuggets. Great team. Nuggets are a great team. And like great teams do, they start fighting back. They start coming back. And the
Mm.
way they won this game after our podcast was insane. Jokic driving up the court does like a cross and then a fading out of bounds, like almost half court three. Just absolutely drains it. The Nuggets freak out. And you can just see the demoralization all over the Warriors players dropping an 18-point game. What's up?
I just do want to say that shot, the game was tied, so
Yeah.
like it didn't need to be a three. So he like they did throw it in half court, so there was like maybe like 3 seconds left, but they could have tried to go for two, but I think they were like, oh, let's just give it to our best guy. He'll throw it up, and he made it. I mean, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah. And after that game, it was reported via Shabs that Kuminga lost faith in Steve Kerr, Jonathan Kuminga. And I put that in quotes because that is exactly what the report said. And in that game, where they blew an 18-point lead in the fourth quarter, Kuminga, who was having a really good game, didn't play in the last 18 minutes of the game. He was just sitting on the bench watching the Nuggets come back, not thrown into the game at all. They were instead playing Wiggins, who has been not good this season.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was interesting because it wasn't like a head coach like I'm not playing, and perhaps that happened, privately before. But I thought it was interesting that it came out in like a media report, like a gossip, like Kuminga doesn't like his coaching staff. And then the very next day, he played 36 minutes, the most he's played in a game this season. So I guess it worked.
Like I thought also what the weirdest thing about this was that Kaminga is not a household name. So they're reporting it like it when with the way I was reading it and seeing it everywhere is like if Steph Curry said that. Like
Mm,
I just saw Kaminga like everywhere, like lost faith in Kerr, like he doesn't, doesn't trust him. And I'm like, no one knows. I know who he is. We know who he is, but it's not like, he's a great player. Like I do like him a lot. But I just thought it was funny how much they were focusing on this guy that no one else really knows about.
yeah, and I mean, it was interesting because he played the 36 minutes the next game. The Warriors won. My goodness. Um, and then the bad news for the Warriors, unfortunately, was not over. Chris Paul, CP3, fractured his left hand. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks after undergoing a surgery to repair that fractured hand. And the thing that came to my attention the most about this is you got no Chris Paul, you got no Draymond. We will talk about Draymond here in a bit. Um, aside from Steph, who kind of thrives off the ball, you don't really have a lot of that Warrior system creation. You don't have like a guy to
Yeah.
facilitate that. So I thought that was a little worrisome. Did you have any Chris Paul thoughts before I moved on to the next thing?
I mean, I had my doubt, not my doubts, but I had my reservations about Chris Paul and the Warriors. But he showed that he could fit into their system
Mhm.
and fit quite well, especially with Draymond out. He kind of I think they put him in the starting lineup and it worked out. With him out and Draymond out, like you said, I don't know where they're getting their shots, where they're creating. Are you trusting Brandon Podzinski to like run your
We call
uh
that guy Pods because I will never try to say that name.
it sounds Polish, so I thought I would try to say it. But yeah, it is unfortunate is really the thing. And then, I want you to talk about Draymond a little bit because I have thoughts about this too.
Yeah, so news came out that Draymond had been reinstated. He's been away from the team for I think over a month now. He has had apparently several weeks of counseling. He's had meetings with Adam Silver. He's had meetings with Warrior staff and Warrior team and all that. Um, and I guess Adam Silver is like happy with the place that Draymond was at. He's practicing with the team. He's kind of ramping up. He may play next week. He may finally be back on the court with them. And on his podcast, the Draymond Green Show, not as good of a podcast as Two Man Game,
Not even
but
close.
you know, we can't all be as great as us. Um, he said Adam Silver had to convince him to not retire because he told Adam like, "I'm done with this, man. I can't deal with all this. It's too much for me. I gotta get out. I gotta be done with this." And I'm just like, "Shut
There's an
up,
Yeah,
shut
there's an easy
up."
there's such an easy answer to this. Don't chokehold people. Don't punch people.
I can't deal with all this, man.
I can't. It's too crazy. If someone's trying to guard me, I gotta hit him across the side of the head. What do you want me to do? Just try and get the ball and dribble around him?
I'm
What am I
just playing
supposed to do?
defense, Adam.
I'm just protecting my guys, man. Gobert was going at his throat.
Dude,
It wasn't.
how funny would that have been if like news a report is supposed to says Draymond Green has retired from, from the NBA. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
no,
that came out.
those are my thoughts about that. Yeah, because I read that too. I think there was I read something too about LeBron reaching out to Draymond. I don't know about like convincing LeBron to retire, but he did reach out to him to talk to him, and I know they have a. It's interesting how LeBron kind of he has a strange relationship with these dynasty warriors. Like Steph and Katie and Clay. Like they were competitors for so long, but at the end of the day, they're also like you know, I don't know if they're friends, but they have that history together,
Mm-hmm.
which I find very interesting. What would you have thought if Draymond retired?
Um, I would have thought it would have been pretty dramatic. I don't know, like a kind of a crazy response to a situation that
Yeah,
he like put on himself. Like it's literally your fault you're in this
yeah,
situation. So it's like I don't know how you could be mad because you're the one that caused it. So I wouldn't get it. Like I'm just gonna be like I don't know. I feel like there was no threat to retire. I feel like this is like an attention thing. This is like a woe is me. And I'm like, you're
yeah,
not the victim in this situation.
yeah. What about the
So
people that just got clobbered by you and it's
that brother needs help.
yeah. Well, I'm interested to see what, if anything, like if he comes back and nothing's changed, what's the next step? 2 months of
That's a
counseling?
great question. That's a
That's
great
what I think. But I mean, I really hope we don't find out. I really hope he just comes back, does what he needs to do, plays the way he, you know, just maybe doesn't play the way he used to play, but plays safer, not hurting people. And
I want in his first post game presser to have a shirt that is a picture of Yusuf Nurkic at the post game presser that says like the quote that brother needs help on it. You remember John Collins when they beat the 76ers?
yes,
He had
of
a picture of him
course.
dunking on Embiid. That was so
That's a
funny.
classic. I thought you were going to say a picture of Draymond choking out Gobert on the shirt.
I was actually listening to um the Austin Rivers podcast Off Guard on the Ringer feed, and they had Rudy as a guest, and apparently Draymond had apologized also in his podcast. He was like, "Oh, I'm like sorry for my actions," and Rudy was like, "Oh, really? He apologized? No, okay." He was like, "I don't really care. I'm just here to play basketball." I was like, oh, "Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
like a Rudy response."
Yeah, because he really, when he was getting choked, was really like,
Yeah,
I'm not doing
he's like,
anything.
"I will not be suspended. Actually, I'll just."
Yeah, that was
Rudy,
ridiculous.
Rudy got fined for that.
Really, really?
Yeah, he got fined for
For
that.
being choked out?
Yeah.
So you should have fought, you should have stood up for yourself. We're fining you. It's like, ah, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Overall, I'm worried about the Warriors even when all their guys come back. Um, I worry about their lack of spacing, especially because I feel like that's a big part of their system. The ball moving around the perimeter from one guy to the next until they have the most open, best shot. Steph. He's been kind of the consistent guy this season for them, as he usually is. Teams, I think, kind of fear Clay because a lot of people think he's, the second, third, fourth best shooter of all time. Um, hasn't been great. He has been hoisting up a lot of ugly shots. So he has not been very good this season. Wiggins has just been terrible, even like worse in his Minnesota days. That finals run they had a couple years ago, he was probably the second best player. He had really good shot creation, really good defense. Just has none of that anymore, which is why Kuminga I think has been so frustrated because they kind of
Yeah.
play a similar position. He's like, I should be ahead of this guy because he's not good. Um, and he has since been benched. He has been coming off the bench for
Yeah.
Kuminga in their last couple games. Obviously, Looney is a good rebounder. He can't shoot. Trace Jackson Davis, who's been playing a lot for them, he can't shoot. Kuminga can't shoot very well. Potts can shoot though. He's like 44%. I was looking at his numbers earlier. He's a really good shooter from three.
Yeah, he'll sink some shots. I'm watching some Warriors stuff. Yeah.
So aside from Steph, it's like him and no one else can shoot. Obviously, Draymond can't shoot. Chris Paul can't shoot. This late in his career, so I'm worried about that for their team. 12th in the West, 17-20. We're 5 games. That's 5 games away from being halfway through the season. You're negative. That's not a good look. So I think the other kind of thing to think about is the Warriors trying to do this two timeline thing. Um, where they drafted Wiseman, they drafted Moody, they drafted Kuminga. Instead of trading any of those picks, they said we're going to have the now and the future. And I think aside from Steph, we're seeing that the now is going to be the old
Yeah.
before the future is ready. Like before it could be good, and these other young guys are really established NBA players. Um, Like Clay is already on the way out. Wiggins hasn't been very good. Draymond is didn't play basketball correctly. So I don't know what's gonna happen with this team. I don't know if it's done. I don't know if it's over. I don't know if you're Osage Joe Lacob is the Warriors GM, what you do about this situation, because obviously I think Steph is probably a Warrior for life. I think that's probably how he'll go out, even if the last couple of years are not great. But like Clay and Draymond, they feel like Warriors for life guys, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll try. They have pretty big salaries, so I don't know if they'll be guys that they look at pairing with some of their young assets for a deal to try to help Steph. I feel like it's getting to that point where the what you have is not working.
Yeah, it's interesting because a couple things. Like I find it fascinating that on that finals run, they still have that team basically, like lacking a few
No Otto
people.
Porter.
No Otto Porter, who did make a lot of threes. Gary Payton the second is
That
injured
guy's still
still.
injured. Yep.
Yeah. So they're missing like that defense, but they still have the starting five, which in theory is a good starting five, but it's just crazy how much it's changed since like, it's been 2 years since they won. And I did think it was strange straddling that timeline of young and old, and I think it's finally coming to fruition. And I think the biggest question, like you brought up about Clay and Draymond, like I see how they could stick around if they accept pay cuts. Like I know we're not max, we're not like $20 million guys. We're like maybe 15 or less.
Yeah, I think
Um, but
think
but you
well Draymond just signed the extension. I think Clay is a free agent this offseason though.
Yeah, so maybe he will take a pay cut, but even with that, I'm like, that's money. If you don't really think Klay Thompson is as good as he was or will be, why would you give him the money? Like, is that just like you feel like since he did bring 4 championships to Golden State, we'll keep him around like a Udonis Haslam, but like, does he wanna do that? Does he want to try and pursue somewhere else? Like, I wonder how much the Warriors feel like they owe it to these guys to keep them around or something. Like some teams will do that um to try and keep players around. I mean, Lakers did that for Kobe and um
Yeah, I also don't know like what will Clay want, you know.
yeah.
Um I have a question. I know you have some disappointments on your list because we're pretty much at the end of the spiel
Yeah.
that we wanted to talk about. Do you have any of those disappointments that like you feel very strongly for? I only have one. Like I said, I only have one that I'm like, this is a disappointment. And I kind of stopped looking because I thought we weren't going to do this, but now that I'm sitting here, I'm like, I could talk about this one for a while. But is there any like one or two that you're like feel pretty strongly about?
I don't have anything that's gonna like I'm not gonna go on like a tangent about.
Sure.
I can just I didn't list 5 things, but nothing we did talk about a few of these things, some we didn't. So I think the biggest NBA disappointments, I did mention the Warriors injuries and suspensions and record
The
that was
Warriors,
there.
yeah, that was going to be one of
Um
mine, but we kind of made a whole thing about it.
yeah,
So
number two, I had Lakers record. I think no one
the
expected it to
Lakers,
be like this.
yeah,
I kind of had a feeling, but I don't think most of the association expected that.
it's so weird too. Because I want to touch on this because I
Yeah,
looked at the Lakers because I had them at the number two seed. Um, so I looked into their
yeah,
team. Like I couldn't find anything that was like glaring to me. Like I was like,
I
okay,
agree.
LeBron is doing great, AD's doing great, Austin Reeves is doing pretty good. So I think what my disappointment is going to get to is specifically the Lakers role players. Um,
Yeah,
I think not a lot of people carried their weight. I had some stuff written down, I deleted it, but uh, one of one of the guys that I feel like I really like that's not doing anything, and that's Jared Vanderbilt. Man, I was looking at that guy's numbers. They are not good. He is shooting like 35% from the field. Like he is not
yeah,
getting any steals or blocks. He's a good defender, like in theory.
yeah,
But he like not getting any rebounds. He's like Jay Sean Tate. He's just running around out there. I don't know what that guy's doing.
yeah. So yeah, I've watched it. I've watched like the recent games, and they did put him in the starting lineup, which I think we talked about last time, and I think it's a little ridiculous, like to have like 3 defenders basically in your starting lineup and no other creators besides LeBron. Because it was Torian Prince, Cam Reddish, and Jared Vanderbilt, all good players, but shouldn't be starting around LeBron and AD. And Jared Vanderbilt is the guy that's in. So he was out for a lot of the season so far, and
Yeah.
then when he comes in, he is on the other team's best player. But I did see him score when I watched like a game to one of the two games, not the Raptors game, but I think I was watching Clippers, and I was like, oh, Jared Vanderbilt made a point. I didn't even consider, I was like surprised.
They're like, oh, that
Uh,
guy can do that.
that guy
Yeah.
made a
Let
shot.
me let me read some numbers to you. 18 games played, 37% from the field, 11% from three,
Hmm.
50% from the line, 4.5 rebounds, 0.7 steals, 0.2 blocks, half turnover a game. He's literally averaging 3 points a game
Yeah, no, it is
on
crazy, and
like awful efficiency, which is crazy.
yeah, and talking about like the 3-point percentage, like he was working on his corner shot, and he will get open in the corner, and he is 11% from there. He did sink one yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, he made one. But it's yeah,
He's making 0.1 threes on one attempt a game. It's just so funny
that
to
is,
me.
yeah, you got to shoot 10 to make one. Um, but yeah, so I had Lakers record, Grizzlies injury woes, which I mean, even now, even
Yeah,
more than before.
yeah. Sorry, get me
Um,
disappointed for me. I called this.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna.
had the Pistons losing streak, obviously.
I mean, it's
And
hilarious.
and then the other one was the Trae Young DeJounte Murray backcourt.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that? I was looking into Dejounte Murray,
Yeah.
and I feel like the last year he was with the Spurs when he was an All-Star, um, he had this reputation as like the defensive guard, kind of like a Drew
Hmm.
Holiday, you know.
Yeah.
And his defense has just not been very good.
Yeah, I don't
The
know.
last like 2 years on the Hawks, like I don't know what happened. He like Wiggins, he just kind of stopped. He's like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. Actually,
Do
um,
you think so Wiggins' woes started after they won the championship?
and like he
DeJounte,
had all that last season. He had like all the personal reasons and stuff that he was
yeah.
out.
DeJounte Murray started not playing as well when he got to Atlanta. Do you think like these achievements in bigger markets are playing a role in these players not playing as well?
He also got that extension um, when he got to Atlanta. I don't
Mm,
know if that's a part of it too.
that's a good point.
Yeah, part of me thinks it could be like he went from almost defensive role player to I'm a star. Stars don't have to play defense, like I feel like he focused a lot more on his offense, maybe.
Yeah,
So yeah, I feel like something like that could be the case here as well.
gotcha. What is your biggest disappointment?
Well, it's a homer pick. It's something we've kind of talked about.
Okay.
It's Jalen Green. Jalen Green.
Really? You want to
This
talk about Jalen? Okay, interesting.
I have a lot. I have a lot here for you. I agree with all your disappointments, by the way. I thought they were all great. A lot of like I thought about the Lakers. I thought about the Pistons. Obviously, 3 of 36. What a disaster. Uh, I really like the Dejounte Murray Trae Young backcourt because
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been top 5 backcourt in the NBA
Yeah.
to 2 years ago or this year. So I definitely like that because the Hawks are doing really bad. So
Yeah.
like regardless
Yeah,
of it.
exactly.
So yeah, let me talk to you about Jalen Green.
Talk to
Uh,
me.
and this is all excluding the Pistons game, of course.
Okay.
So Jalen Green, he's playing 30 minutes a game. He's played in every game this season, which is nice. All 37 of them. He's shooting 40% from the field. That is not good. Four out
Not
of 10
very
shots
good.
is not good. He's shooting 14 shots a game, by the way. So that's high volume and low efficiency. Shooting 35% from three, which is below league average by a little bit. I think league average is
Yeah.
36, 37. He's shooting 6.5 threes a game. He is averaging 17 points a game. That is a career low
What
from his
was it
rookie year.
last year, if you could?
Last year I was looking at last year he averaged like 24 points a game.
Okay. Yeah, that
Like
sounds about right. I knew it
like
was
quite a regression.
yeah.
And then like his rookie year, it was like 17.5. So he's like just below his rookie year numbers. All those percentages, by the way, also career lows from the field from
Oh,
three. So he's shooting like high volume, a little lower than the past couple of years, but he's also shooting less percent. So that's not good. He's shooting 80% from the line, that's fine. He's averaging 3 assists, which is not a lot.
yeah.
Because I think him and Kevin Porter Jr. in the past couple of years have kind of been, trading ball handling duties. Now with Fred, Fred is averaging like 8.5 assists.
Yeah.
Jalen Green doesn't have to play make as much, but he's also averaging 2 turnovers. So 3 assists to two turnover ratio is not good.
Nope.
4.5 rebounds is whatever. Half a steal is whatever. Um, he's also not good on defense. He's like 100 pounds and doesn't move his feet at all. He gets blown by all the time. He's essentially a track code. It's not good. I think like the reason I have this as my disappointment, the reason I want to talk about it is because you see Şengün taking the star lead, and you feel like Jalen Green should be right there. I think of guys that you mentioned earlier, like Anthony Edwards, who is in, I think this is his 4th year now,
I
right?
believe so, yeah.
And last year you could see the jump. He was
Yeah.
taking the jump. Even guys like LaMelo, it's like that guy is a star, even if the way he plays is
Yeah.
a little wonky. Tyrese has been really good. There's guys all around the league that are ascending in their 3rd, 4th year, and Jalen Green looks like he's regressing right now. Even with Fred VanVleet doing the playmaking, even with Şengün, taking the jump that he is, even with Brooks and Tari Eason playing, defense, it's like all the pieces are around him to support him. He should 100% be like a Zach LaVine or someone
Yeah.
like that. That's just like a easy 25 to 30 point per game score because he has people all around him to do all the other stuff. But he's just not. He's just not doing it. So I feel like his role is clearly there, and he's just not taking it like he should be.
Yeah, I
So.
feel like no. I agree with everything you're saying. I think the only thing I wanted to add to that also was, or I'll ask perhaps is, you know, this is his first season playing with seasoned veterans.
Mhm.
So do you think it's just him getting used to this new system, new coach, you know? Um, I guess
Yeah,
we'll find
I
out next year. We
that
can
could
maybe
be part of it.
compare.
Especially because Udoka comes from the Celtics, who are very defensive oriented, winning oriented. And Jalen Green has not been playing like that. The Rockets
Hmm.
now bad they've been the last 3 seasons he's been there. I guess the only counter I would make to that is like Şengün is doing great. He's looking even better with winning assets around him. Even Jabari Smith is not quite, it's not quite the responsibility, I guess. Like he doesn't have quite the burden, I would say, that Jalen Green has on him. But he's really good at his role. Like he's been covering up some of the defense on other teams' best players with Dylan Brooks and Tari Eason out. Um, and he's been grabbing rebounds, like I mentioned in that one game. He had 15, which is a lot for a
Yeah.
skinny power forward. And I feel like other guys are kind of stepping up to the challenge, whereas Jalen Green is kind of just like being okay. But I feel like he, for the Rockets' long-term success, he has to be more than okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would like to
Number
see
two
him.
pick.
Yeah, I would like to see him make that jump. I think it's there, and I think, with the correct pieces around him, which they are there. He's still. I think he was drafted a year before Şengün, right? Or are they both the same year?
Same year.
Okay, because I was gonna say he has one more year in the NBA to be used to like this ISO, but Şengün's game is also very different. Like I feel like he involves more people.
Mhm.
Um, and I always, you and I have always talked about how we both like his game a little bit more because it does involve more people and whatnot.
Mhm.
I definitely haven't lost faith in Jalen Green. I'm glad that he's still starting because I don't want him to lose faith in what he can do in himself. And he still like can make shots. He's still that guy. Like he made that one like buzzer beater, or I forgot who was against. They were down like 4. He made a crazy 3. It's a 1-point game. Like he can still make shots when he needs to. But if you want where the Rockets are right now, it's fine. But if you want to make it to the playoffs, you want to fight in the conference finals, you want to go all the way, which is the goal. Yeah, he's got to be a little bit more like his old self.
So you mentioned that shot, and I think back to when I was in Galveston, the Rockets, I think it was the 29th, I would say, December 29th, they played the 76ers. It was a very close
Yeah.
game to the end. And the last possession the Rockets had, Jalen Green got the ball, he got a pick, and he had space to shoot a three. It wouldn't have been the cleanest three, it would have been maybe a little moving, but
Yeah.
as like the guy, you take that shot, right? And instead, Jock Landale, who was in the game for some ungodly reason, rolls to the basket, and we're down three, and he passes to Jock Landale on the roll with like 5 seconds left, down three, and Jock Landale misses the layup because he's Jock Landale, and we just lose. And it's like you gotta know that, like, you have to have the confidence to be that guy and take the shot in that moment.
Which is crazy because he definitely has been that guy before, you
Yeah,
know?
back when the Rockets were like, we don't care about anything, we'll lose every game, but I'm cool.
I guess he's just maybe, we can dissect all we want about like why it is the way he is. Maybe he feels like more of that attention and he's nervous, but you want to make it in this league, you got to get used to it. You want to be the guy, you got to get used to it. And, I have faith in him. Like, this is one season. Maybe after All-Star break turns around a little bit. Like I said, I'm glad he's still starting. Like, it's not like they're benching him, putting him on the end and whatnot. Although, I think there's a lot of players that deserve a role, but I'm glad that they're trusting him with, he's put in his time.
Throw Cam Whitmore in the starting lineup. We're done with Jalen Green.
I do love Cam Whitmore,
Cam Whitmore's
obviously.
awesome.
Yeah, as long as he's playing in regular season games and not playing the G League, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about like specific players really, except for like the DeJounte Trae Young.
I delved all into his season. I was like, what's going on here, Jalen Green?
I think it would be fun if we do like a player profile, like someone that no one else has talked. Like we just like me and you just talk about each. Just pick one player.
Future episode idea.
It's pretty good. It's a good one.
I like that. Yeah, that could
Yeah,
be
that'd
good.
be fun.
So we kind of did the disappointment. So we didn't have to make a whole episode about it. We just kind of hit him real quick. I like that.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, I think so too.
I think soon here we're gonna do some recaps, some general recaps. We haven't done that in a while. Like since our panic meter, I guess, was the last time we kind of really dissected every team. I don't think we'll do every team in one episode. I think we'll take it by conference probably.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Or yeah, I think so.
So that could be, we have conference breakdown, and then All-Star will be right around the corner. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We could do some prediction stuff, like talking about teams after the All-Star break. We anticipate things like that. Anyways, we got a lot of ideas, so make sure you stick around, keep on listening and following, and
keep on listening.
Sharing.
Comment your ideas too.
If y'all also, if you have any comments, like why is Jalen Green not doing as well? Is it because he's in a Google Pixel commercial now? Is that possible?
That's true. That's a bad commercial.
It's a really bad commercial. That's probably why he's like, man, I don't know why I made that commercial. But of course, we have to do the shot before we can say goodbye.
I have a question.
Bring it on.
Can I just turn around and start shooting this normally? Because I don't think I'm ever gonna make it backwards. I don't think.
Let's try it. Try it. Let's see if you make it right now. Then I'm not gonna let you do it.
Okay. Okay. We do have a mini basketball hoop at work that these kids always try to get me to shoot on. So.
Okay. So he's taking the shot right now. If you're watching, you should watch. Taking the shot, and he missed. A little bit to the left, and he's gonna shoot it again, and he made it. So. It has to be backwards every time.
I see no. Okay, all right. I'll do a backwards one too.
Just this is an honorary one.
Listeners, if you're still listening, you're a true one, because I can't imagine the shot part of this at the end is entertaining to listen to at all.
Oh come on, of course it is. This is what they thrive for. It's what they live for. That was close enough.
That's not good. Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Listening to us talk about news and the Warriors and some other disappointments around the NBA. If you liked it, which we know you did, if you got to this point, if you're still listening, you must have liked something. Please like on YouTube, comment suggestions, or if you just have something to comment on that we talked about, if you have a different opinion or something, that would be great too. If you're on Spotify, leave 5 stars, download the episodes. That'll help boost our numbers, get the podcast out to more people, which is all we want. I think our last video actually, I was looking earlier today, it has 15 views. It's 1 of 10. our best video in our last 10. So that's exciting.
Hey, that's pretty
I don't
good.
know if it has to do with the lighting, the new lighting,
It's
the
the
thumbnail's a
lighting.
little
They
more
love
interesting to
it. They
look
love their
at.
like more vibes, more vibes.
I will say the average view duration is like 18 minutes, so it's not like people are listening to the whole podcast.
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I usually stop halfway through and then I forget and then I watch the next one. You know what I mean? Like it happens. So
I was re-listening to our most recent one with
yeah.
Autumn the other day because Autumn and I were watching stuff. Shout out Autumn, and we were on YouTube and they saw the thumbnail, they clicked on it, and I was like, usually I'm like, no, I can't do it because I don't like listening to myself. But I was sitting there listening for a while, and Autumn was like, yeah, I like listening to the top of show. And then when you guys start talking about basketball, I turned it off. I was like,
I was just about to say
okay.
that like 18 minutes is like you and I just catching up and talking about, just what's going on. And then when we get
Yeah.
into basketball, people, maybe that's what it is. It's the basketball.
Let's make this podcast just about us. We just
Just
talk.
about us.
Just
A
talk
lot of
forever.
people do that, and apparently people find it fascinating. But
Yeah, but those people are like celebrities that
I
people
know.
are
Well, we're
invested in.
cool. We're cooler anyway. We have personalities.
That's true. We do have I think there's a lot of personality in this podcast.
There
Um,
absolutely is. And there's only room enough for one ego.
no, there's two egos, two-man game. Hopefully you liked the podcast. Like I said, like, comment, share, text, post on social media about how cool we are. Please, because that again, that's how this gets out to more people. And we are not looking to be, the Joe Rogan of the basketball podcast, but
Yeah.
we just want people to enjoy what we have to offer because we think we're putting out, some entertaining stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what everything Damon's saying, and I appreciate you listening if you've made it this far, and we look forward to doing many more of these and hearing from you guys. So thanks for listening, thanks for sharing. This has been Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.